There is a specific look people give you when they know they can use you. It is not hate. Hate would imply they see you as a threat. Hate would imply you have power. No, it's indifference. The kind of indifference that burns, that tears at the core of your self-worth. You've felt it, haven't you? The subtle dismissal when they interrupt your thoughts, the disregard when they take more from you than they ever give in return. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You've allowed it. You've allowed others to treat you as expendable because deep down, you haven't yet claimed your own power. You've mistaken your silence for wisdom, your constant availability for kindness. But what if I told you this isn't strength? It's submission. What if the key to true self-respect and power lies not in giving more of yourself, but in drawing a firm line that others can never cross? The Stoics knew this well. They understood that respect is not something you beg for, it's something you command through deliberate action, through boundaries that protect your peace and your self-worth. Today, I'm going to show you how to stop being used, how to reclaim your value, and how to build a life where others respect you, not because you demand it, but because you've earned it through the power of discipline. If you're ready to step into that power and stop being overlooked, please subscribe. This is your first step toward breaking free from the cycle of being used and stepping into a life of true self-respect and control. When you constantly give of yourself to others, when you're always the first one to say yes, you begin to lose sight of your own worth. You become the person who's always available, always willing to help, and always dropping everything for others. On the surface, it may seem like you're being kind, generous, or reliable, but what's really happening is that you're slowly fading into the background. Your constant availability makes you forgettable, and more than that, it makes you expendable. People don't value someone they can walk all over. They don't respect someone who is always ready to serve, but never asks for anything in return. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When you're constantly saying yes, you're teaching people that your time doesn't matter. You're telling them that you don't have limits, that you don't have your own needs, and that you'll always be there whenever they call. But the moment you start saying no, something shifts. People begin to see you differently. They realize that you have boundaries, that you respect your time and energy, and that you won't just bend to their demands whenever they please. It's when you start setting those boundaries, when you start choosing yourself over others, that you begin to earn the respect you've been craving. This isn't about being selfish. It's about self-respect. You need to ask yourself, when was the last time you did something because you truly wanted to, not because you felt obligated? When was the last time you said no to a request that didn't serve your needs or your values? It's easy to think that saying yes all the time makes us good people, that we're being helpful or supportive. But in truth, we're just teaching others to take us for granted. We're teaching them that our time is theirs for the taking. What if, instead of offering a long explanation every time someone asks something of you, you simply said no? What if you didn't feel the need to justify your decision, to over-explain why you couldn't help, or to apologize for putting yourself first? There's power in that no. It's a declaration of your worth. It's a sign that you've stopped letting others dictate your time, your energy, and your life. And the more you practice it, the more you'll begin to reclaim your power and your peace. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the essence of setting boundaries. It's not about what others ask of you. It's about how you choose to respond. When you learn to say no, you're not just protecting your time, you're protecting your energy, your mental health, and your sense of self. You're no longer reacting to the demands of others. Instead, you're acting with intention, and you're making choices that align with your own values. Stop apologizing for saying no. Stop explaining yourself. Your no is not a rejection of others. It's a protection of your own well-being. It's a way to maintain your peace and your integrity in a world that constantly demands more from you. People will respect you more when they see that you value your own time. They'll begin to understand that your presence is not something to be taken for granted, but something to be earned. And when you respect your own boundaries, you teach others to do the same. The key to gaining respect is not in how much you give, but in how much you're willing to protect yourself. When you start to choose your own needs over the demands of others, you'll begin to see a shift in how people treat you. No longer will they take advantage of your time, your resources, or your energy. Instead, they'll begin to value you for the strength it takes to say no. And that respect, it will be lasting. Remember, it's not about rejecting people or cutting them off. It's about creating space for the relationships that truly matter, the ones that are built on mutual respect, understanding, and value. When you set boundaries, you allow yourself to engage in relationships that are nourishing, not draining. You stop being a passive participant in your own life, and instead, you become an active creator of your own story. And that's where the real respect comes from. Not from how much you give, but from how much you value yourself. Your no has power. Don't be afraid to use it. Every time you say it, you're building a life that's true to you, a life that reflects your values and priorities. Stop apologizing for putting yourself first and start owning your decisions. You'll find that as you stop bending over backward for others, you'll start to attract the respect, peace, and relationships that truly matter. There's something incredibly powerful about being scarce. It's a concept that's often overlooked, but when you think about it, it's everywhere in nature and in human behavior. The value of something is often tied not just to its qualities, but to its rarity. Take a rare gemstone, for example. The beauty of it is undeniable, but what truly makes it so valuable is its scarcity. If you could get your hands on diamonds all day long, would they still be as precious? Of course not. It's the rarity, the fact that it's difficult to find, that gives it its worth. The same principle applies to your time, your energy, and your attention. If you're always available, always answering texts immediately, always saying yes to people's requests, always dropping everything to help someone, you start to lose your value. Not because you aren't doing good things, but because you've flooded the market with your presence. You've become too accessible, too predictable. And just like the world doesn't respect something that's abundant, people begin to take you for granted. Now, imagine what would happen if you started disappearing for a while. What if you didn't reply to every message right away? What if you took a few days off from social media? What if you went offline entirely for just a little while? The moment you do this, something changes. People will notice. They'll wonder, where did they go? What's going on with them? The simple absence of your presence creates a ripple of curiosity, and that curiosity is where your power lies. When you stop being a constant fixture in everyone's life, people start to value your presence in a different way. They'll begin to ask themselves, why aren't they around? What are they doing? How can I earn their attention or their time? The game changes. When you return, your time will feel more valuable to them because they'll realize you're not someone they can just take for granted. They can't have you whenever they want. They have to earn it. To become who you truly are, you have to recognize your own worth. You have to realize that your presence, your energy, your time are all precious commodities. And by making yourself scarce, you force others to see that. You're no longer the background character in your own life, but the main player. You're setting the standard for how others should treat you. This doesn't mean you should completely shut yourself off from the world or become unapproachable. It's about knowing when to step back and when to step forward. It's about choosing the moments when you offer yourself and your energy rather than constantly giving it away. When you begin to create that balance, you make space for the relationships, the opportunities, and the experiences that truly deserve your attention. And when people start to notice that you're not always available, they'll respect you more. They'll begin to understand that your time is not something to be taken for granted. Think about the people you respect the most. Do they always make themselves available? Are they constantly at your beck and call? Or are they people who have their own lives, their own boundaries, their own time that they value. Most likely, the people you respect have cultivated a sense of scarcity in their lives. They've made it clear, whether intentionally or not, that their time is valuable, and because of that, they demand respect from others. It's not about playing games. It's not about manipulating people into chasing you. It's about honoring your own value. It's about setting boundaries and teaching others to respect them. It's about being selective with your time and energy, and in doing so, ensuring that when you give it, it truly matters. And when you begin to set those boundaries, people will take notice. They'll stop assuming they can have all of you whenever they want. There's an undeniable strength in absence. It's a tool for reclaiming your time and your energy. It's a way of saying to the world, I won't be easily accessed. I won't be a constant, always ready option. I am valuable, and I will choose when and where I show up. And when you start doing that, you begin to live with intention, not just reaction. You stop being a passive participant in your own life, and instead, you become the one who sets the terms. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed by the demands of others, take a step back, create some space. Let your absence speak for itself. And when you return, you'll find that your presence is more appreciated than ever. People will value your time because they'll realize they can't have it all the time. And that, my friend, is where your true power lies. How often do you find yourself rushing to fill silence? It's almost like an automatic reflex. The moment there's a pause in conversation, we jump in, filling that space with words, thoughts, and explanations. It's uncomfortable to just sit there, isn't it? Silence often feels like an awkward gap we have to bridge, something we can't allow to linger too long. But here's the truth. Silence is not something to fear. Silence is where power lies. Think about it for a second. The next time someone interrupts you, cuts you off, or tries to steer the conversation instead of immediately rushing to fill that silence with words, don't. Keep speaking. Keep your presence solid. Do not apologize for taking up space. In that moment, when you let the silence hang in the air, they will feel it. It's unsettling, isn't it? That heavy, uncomfortable pause that makes everyone second-guess themselves. It forces them to pay attention. It forces them to recognize you. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." In this case, the irritation that arises from silence is an opportunity, a chance to understand your own power. The discomfort you feel in those moments isn't weakness. It's a sign that you are on the verge of tapping into something more profound. By not rushing to fill that void, you are asserting control. You are sending a message that your presence, your voice, and your space are not to be diminished. Silence isn't empty, it's heavy. It holds weight. Imagine being in a room where you are the calmest presence. Everyone else is speaking, laughing, sharing, trying to fill the space with their words and their energy. But you remain still. You don't jump in. You don't force your thoughts out just to be heard. You let the silence settle around you, and you sit in it. And what happens? People begin to look at you differently. They feel it. It's almost as if you have become the center of the room without saying a word. This, my friend, is the power of silence. When you stop rushing to explain yourself, to fill the gaps, or to justify your presence, you regain control. People will start to think twice before they try to speak over you or ignore you. That subtle shift is where respect begins. Silence allows you to reclaim the room. You stop being the passive participant in the conversation and start being the one who commands attention. Your silence becomes a statement. Think about the people you truly respect. Do they constantly fill the space with their voices, or do they speak sparingly, choosing their words carefully, and letting their presence do the talking? I'd wager that the people you admire most don't rush to explain themselves. They don't scramble to validate their thoughts or apologize for their decisions. They understand the weight of their silence, and they wield it with purpose. In doing so, they allow others to feel the power of their presence. They don't just talk for the sake of talking. they speak when it matters. When you stop trying to win approval with your words, when you embrace silence as a tool, you'll notice something incredible. People will begin to listen more carefully when you do speak. They'll pay attention to your words because they'll realize that you only speak when it's truly important. You don't waste your energy on trivialities. This is how you start to command respect, not with volume, but with presence. Here's something that might surprise you. The more you embrace silence, the more you begin to discover your true voice. It's not the loudest voice in the room that commands attention. It's the voice that speaks with intention, that chooses its moments carefully. The more you let the silence sit, the more people will begin to understand that you are not easily swayed, not easily manipulated by the noise of the world. You are solid, you are unshakable, and that in itself is a form of strength. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The same can be said about your words. True power isn't in the endless stream of conversation, but in the ability to say less, to communicate more with fewer words. When you choose silence over speech, when you allow the space to breathe, you elevate yourself above the noise. You stop being a part of the constant chatter and become the one who stands firmly, calmly, and with purpose. The next time someone tries to interrupt you or speak over you, take a moment. Don't rush to fill the silence. Let it sit, and as you do, feel the shift in the room. Watch how people's behavior changes. You're no longer the one fighting for attention. You're the one who commands it simply by being present. The respect you've been seeking will begin to show up when you stop chasing it with words. The silence will do the work for you. By controlling the silence, you're not just controlling the room, you're controlling yourself. You're asserting your space, your time, and your value without ever needing to say a word. This is the power of silence. It's a weapon you can wield with grace and precision, and when you embrace it, you'll find that the respect you've been longing for starts to come naturally. You don't need to beg for it. You don't need to justify yourself. You simply need to be present, be still, and let the silence speak for you. There's something we all fall into at some point, pleasing others. It starts innocently enough. You want to help, you want to be liked, you want to be the dependable person everyone can rely on. You think that by saying yes every time someone asks something of you, you're building goodwill, strengthening relationships. But here's the harsh truth. You're not building anything. You're draining yourself. You're giving away pieces of yourself until there's nothing left. And people will never see the value in someone who is always available to serve others. They take you for granted. And you know what happens when you're taken for granted. You start to lose respect, not only from others, but from yourself. What if, instead of always saying yes, you said no? What if, just for once, you protected your own energy instead of constantly giving it away? It's a simple shift, but it's a powerful one. When was the last time you did something because you genuinely wanted to? Not because you felt obligated, not because you feared disappointing someone. When was the last time you prioritized your own well-being over someone else's expectations? These are the questions you need to start asking yourself. And the next time someone asks for a favor, ask yourself again. Is this something I truly want to do? Or am I just saying yes because I don't want to disappoint? You might feel guilty at first, but that guilt is a sign that you're doing something right. Saying no isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. It's about maintaining your peace and integrity. It's about protecting your own mental and emotional space from the constant demands of others. And here's the thing. When you start saying no, you'll notice something. People will respect you more. Why? Because they'll see that you value your own time and energy. They'll see that you are not a doormat to be walked on at will. They will start treating you differently, and more importantly, you will start treating yourself differently. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." By constantly saying yes to everyone else, you're wasting your time. You're squandering your energy on things that don't align with your purpose or your peace of mind. Each yes you give away is a piece of yourself that you'll never get back. But when you start saying no, you start reclaiming your time. You start valuing yourself as someone who deserves respect, who deserves to be protected from the constant demands of the world. This isn't about being rude or neglecting others. It's about setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are essential. Without them, you'll find yourself constantly giving, constantly sacrificing, and in the end, you'll have nothing left to give. And when you have nothing left to give, you're no good to anyone, least of all yourself. It's a harsh truth, but one you need to accept if you ever hope to break free from the cycle of people-pleasing. The people who are respected, the ones who seem to have their life together, are the ones who know when to say no. They understand that their time is their most precious resource. They protect it fiercely. And when you start protecting your energy in the same way, something incredible happens. You stop feeling drained. You stop feeling like you're living in reaction to everyone else's demands. Instead, you begin to take control of your own life. You start living with intention, making decisions based on what truly serves you, not on what others expect from you. The act of saying no is also an act of self-respect. When you say no, you're telling yourself, I matter. You're telling the world that you will not be controlled by other people's needs, that you are in charge of your own time, your own energy, your own life. And let me tell you, that is powerful. People might be uncomfortable with your no at first. They might question you, guilt-trip you, or even get upset. But in reality, what they're really upset about is the fact that you've just shown them that they can't take advantage of you anymore. And that's when the respect you've been seeking starts to flow in. It's not about being selfish, it's about balance. By protecting your energy, you ensure that when you do give, it's meaningful. It's coming from a place of abundance, not depletion. You'll find that you're more present in the moments that matter, and you'll have the strength to support others when it truly counts. But you have to stop treating your time and energy as if they're infinite. You have to stop overcommitting. You have to learn to say no without feeling like you're being a bad person, because the truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly giving without replenishing yourself, you're going to burn out. And when that happens, no one benefits. Not you, not the people who depend on you, no one. So here's the challenge. Start saying no. Start putting yourself first. It won't be easy at first. You might feel guilty. You might second-guess yourself. But trust me when I say that it's the most important step you can take toward reclaiming your life. It's the first step in protecting your peace, your energy, and your value. You'll be amazed at how much respect you gain, not only from others, but from yourself. When you stop pleasing, you start protecting. And when you start protecting yourself, you start living with purpose. So ask yourself, when was the last time you said no to something that didn't serve you? When was the last time you put your own needs first? Start there. Start now. Protect your time. Protect your energy. And in doing so, you'll build a life that truly reflects your worth. You'll become someone who commands respect, not through force, but through the strength of your boundaries. How often do you find yourself justifying your decisions, offering up excuses or explanations for why you've chosen a certain path or set a particular boundary? It's something many of us do, especially when we're concerned about how others perceive us. We feel the need to explain ourselves, to soften the impact of our decisions, and to ensure that everyone else understands why we made the choices we did. But here's the thing, every time you justify yourself, you're giving away your power. You're opening the door for others to question your authority over your own life. You're subtly telling them that their approval matters more than your own conviction. A person who has mastered discipline doesn't need to justify their decisions. They don't have to explain why they've set a boundary or why they've chosen a particular course of action. When they say no, they don't follow it with a long-winded excuse or a laundry list of reasons. They simply say it and stand by it. Their word is enough. Their actions speak louder than any explanation ever could. This is where true strength lies. It's not in convincing others of your choices. It's in having the inner conviction to stand firm in your decisions, regardless of how others might react. Think about the people in your life whom you admire. Do they spend their time justifying themselves, apologizing for their choices, or explaining why they do what they do? Chances are, the people you respect most are the ones who don't feel the need to seek validation for their actions. They've built a sense of self-respect that doesn't rely on others' opinions. They've cultivated a life where their decisions come from a place of inner strength, not external approval. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." His words are a reminder that we don't need to explain our worth to others. The moment we begin to justify our decisions, we start questioning our own authority over our lives. We start doubting ourselves. The truth is, you don't need anyone's permission to live the life you've chosen. You are the authority in your own story. You don't have to apologize for setting boundaries, for saying no, or for choosing a path that aligns with your values. Every time you give in to the urge to justify yourself, you allow others to take the reins of your life, even if it's just for a moment. You let them question your decisions, challenge your beliefs, and undermine your authority. And here's the kicker. Most of the time, those people aren't even asking for explanations out of genuine curiosity or concern. They're doing it to manipulate the situation in their favor, to make you second-guess yourself. By justifying your decisions, you're feeding into that dynamic. You're telling them that their opinion holds more weight than your own. The moment you stop justifying, you regain control. You reclaim your power. You let your decisions stand on their own merit without needing to explain, defend, or apologize. When you say no, let it be because you've decided that it's what's best for you, not because you feel guilty. Let your actions speak for themselves. Stand firm in your choices and let the world adjust to your boundaries. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace, your energy, or your time. As you start standing firm in your decisions, you'll notice a shift in how others respond to you. People will begin to treat you with more respect. They'll start seeing that you're someone who can be counted on to make decisions and stick by them. The people who truly value you will appreciate your clarity and conviction. The ones who only want to manipulate you will fade away because they'll realize they can't push you around anymore. This doesn't mean that you should be inflexible or closed off to feedback. It means that you should stop seeking validation for your choices. Stop waiting for others to agree with you before you move forward. There will always be people who disagree, who question your decisions, and who try to get you to change your mind, but that doesn't mean you should bend to their will. The only opinion that truly matters in your life is your own. Once you realize that, you'll stop giving your power away to others and start living in alignment with your true self. In fact, the more you stand firm in your decisions, the easier it will become to make them. You'll stop second-guessing yourself, wondering if you've made the right choice. You'll trust yourself more, knowing that you are capable of making decisions that serve your higher good. And in doing so, you'll stop letting the fear of what others think dictate your actions. Instead, you'll live with a deep sense of inner certainty, knowing that you are the one in control of your life. As you begin to practice this, it may feel uncomfortable at first. You might feel like you're being harsh, or that others will think less of you. But that's simply fear speaking, fear of standing up for yourself and asserting your worth. Over time, though, the discomfort will fade. You'll become more confident in your ability to make decisions and stand by them, no matter what. And as you do, you'll feel a sense of peace settle within you. You'll stop living for others and start living for yourself. This process isn't about being stubborn or closed off to the world. It's about recognizing your own value and not allowing anyone to diminish it. It's about trusting yourself enough to make decisions based on what you know is right for you. The more you practice standing firm, the more natural it will feel. You'll begin to live with a sense of purpose and power, knowing that you are in charge of your own destiny. And when you stand firm in your decisions, the respect you've been seeking will come to you naturally, not because you demanded it, but because you've earned it. You've shown the world that you are someone who can't be swayed or manipulated. You are someone who knows their worth, and that is the ultimate form of respect. When you begin to live with discipline, something incredible happens. You start to create a life that's impossible to ignore. You're no longer just reacting to the world around you. Instead, you're making intentional choices about what matters most. And when you do this, you send a message to the world that you are the priority in your own life. This doesn't mean you shut people out or become isolated. It means you stop prioritizing others over yourself. It's about balance, and it's about self-respect. Too many of us fall into the trap of bending over backward for people who don't appreciate us. We do it because we want to be liked, because we fear rejection, or because we think we'll be valued more if we give more. But in the process, we lose sight of our own worth. When you're constantly giving, constantly putting others' needs first, you teach the world that your time, energy, and peace aren't as important as theirs. You become someone who's always available to fix other people's problems, but you're not taking care of your own. What kind of message does that send? The reality is, when you live a life that's not centered around your own values, you're doing a disservice to yourself and those around you. People begin to take you for granted, and in some cases, they start to assume that your time is theirs to take. They expect you to show up on their terms, without considering what it costs you. This is where discipline comes in. Discipline means that you've set boundaries, you've made choices that honor your own needs, and you don't allow the world to dictate your worth. Discipline isn't about punishment, it's about structure. It's about building a life that reflects the values you hold dear. You see, when you start putting yourself first, you're not being selfish, you're being wise. You're showing the world that you have a standard, a bar that others have to meet in order to be in your life. And that bar doesn't have to be high in a way that excludes people. It just needs to be clear. It's about knowing what you will accept and what you won't, and it's about living in a way that reflects that. If you're always giving away your time, your energy, your presence without expecting anything in return, you'll eventually find yourself drained and overlooked. But when you create a life worth protecting, when you cultivate boundaries and prioritize what matters most, you'll find that the respect you seek begins to flow naturally. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The process of becoming who you truly are involves creating a life that reflects your deepest values. It means taking responsibility for your own happiness, well-being, and growth. It means building a life where you are the priority, not in a selfish, narcissistic way, but in a way that honors your own worth. When you begin to show up for yourself in this way, the world starts to reflect that back to you. People begin to treat you differently. They start to see that your time is valuable, that your energy is precious, and that your peace is non-negotiable. And when they see that, they'll respect you. This isn't just about being assertive or standing up for yourself in one moment. It's about creating a life that's consistent with your values every single day. It's about building routines that empower you and relationships that nourish you. It's about setting goals that challenge you, that push you to grow, and that align with the person you want to become. These small, consistent decisions lead to big changes. Over time, you will have built a life that's rich with purpose and meaning, a life that commands respect because it is centered around your values. As you begin to create a life that you respect, something incredible happens. You stop seeking validation from others. You stop worrying about whether people like you or approve of your choices. You start to realize that the only validation you need is from yourself. You become the authority in your own life, and that authority comes from living in alignment with what truly matters to you. When you start living this way, others begin to see that your time is not to be wasted, your energy is not to be taken for granted, and your presence is not something they can demand on their terms. And as you continue on this journey, you'll notice something powerful. The people who truly respect you will begin to rise to meet your standards. They'll show up for you in ways that you never thought possible. They'll begin to understand that if they want to be in your life, they have to contribute to it in a meaningful way. They won't take you for granted because they'll see that you are a person who values their own time, their own energy, and their own peace. And those are the people who deserve to be around you, the ones who respect you for the person you are, not the person you've been conditioned to be. Creating a life worth protecting requires consistent effort. It's about building habits that serve you, choosing relationships that lift you up, and making decisions that align with your purpose. It's not always easy, and it's not always popular, but it's the only way to live authentically. It's the only way to stop feeling drained, overwhelmed, and unnoticed. By creating a life that you respect, you lay the foundation for the kind of life that others will respect too. So ask yourself, what kind of life are you building? Are you living according to your values, or are you constantly bending to the will of others? Are you putting yourself first, or are you letting others take more than they give? The life you create is yours to shape. And when you start living with discipline, when you start prioritizing yourself, you'll find that the people around you will start to respect you in ways you never imagined. And that respect will be the natural byproduct of a life that is worth protecting. The path to becoming truly disciplined isn't an easy one. If you're looking for comfort, you won't find it on this journey. The road to personal growth is filled with discomfort, and that discomfort is not something you can avoid. It's something you must embrace. It's easy to think of discipline as something smooth and effortless, a routine that simply fits into your life. But real discipline is built in the moments when you feel the resistance, when every fiber of your being wants to give in to the easier path. It's when you choose discomfort that you begin to grow. Every time you say no, every time you choose to prioritize yourself over someone else, you will feel it. You'll feel the sting of disapproval, the discomfort of setting boundaries that others aren't used to. It's natural to want to please others, to be liked, to avoid conflict. But growth isn't about comfort. It's about pushing through the discomfort and choosing your peace over the approval of others. And that's where the real change happens. That's where you transform from someone who's constantly seeking validation to someone who commands respect. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This statement captures the essence of discipline. You are not defined by your past choices, your comfort zones, or the people who try to pull you in different directions. You are defined by what you choose to become, and that choice often requires you to embrace discomfort, something many of us shy away from. The discomfort is the key to transformation. It's in those moments of resistance that you build the resilience needed to truly lead your own life. Discipline isn't about avoiding discomfort. It's about learning to sit with it, to walk through it, and to keep moving forward even when every part of you wants to give up. It's in these moments that you test your limits. You push yourself, not because it's easy, but because you know that on the other side of that discomfort lies growth. You've probably heard that change is hard. Well, that's because it is. Real transformation happens when you're forced to confront discomfort head-on, when you choose to stand firm even as resistance builds around you. The ability to embrace discomfort is the hallmark of someone who has power over their own life. This power isn't about controlling others or gaining external approval. It's about controlling yourself, your decisions, and your response to the world around you. When you stop running from discomfort and instead face it, you unlock a level of personal strength that most people never tap into. It's this inner strength that allows you to maintain your boundaries, to stand tall in your decisions, and to make choices that serve your long-term goals rather than your short-term comfort. It's easy to want to quit when things get tough, to throw in the towel and revert to old habits that don't challenge you. But that's not where growth lies. Growth happens when you push past the initial discomfort, when you keep going, even when it feels easier to stop. That's when discipline becomes a true force in your life. When you build the mental strength to stand firm in the face of resistance, when you say no without hesitation, when you don't seek others' approval, that's when you begin to see your life transform in ways that are undeniable. You don't have to chase respect anymore. When you begin to embrace discomfort, when you choose discipline over ease, respect will follow naturally. People will start to see you as someone who is unshakable, someone who holds firm to their values and their boundaries. They'll recognize that you're not easily swayed by the opinions or demands of others, and that's when respect starts to come to you, not because you're seeking it, but because you've earned it through the strength of your actions. You've demonstrated through your choices that you are a person of integrity, a person who isn't afraid to walk through discomfort to create a life worth living. This doesn't mean you'll always get it right. There will be times when you slip, when you give in to the urge to please others or to take the easy road. But the key is to recognize those moments and choose differently the next time. The more you practice embracing discomfort, the easier it becomes to stand firm in your decisions. Over time, it becomes a natural part of who you are. You stop apologizing for your choices, you stop justifying your decisions, and you stop fearing the discomfort of standing alone. You've learned to trust yourself, to know that discomfort is just a temporary phase on the road to something greater. Discipline is a practice. It's a decision you make every day, a commitment to yourself that you will face the challenges, the resistance, and the discomfort that comes with growing into the person you want to be. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about making the decision to keep moving forward, even when it's hard. When you make that decision, something incredible happens. You start to live with purpose. You stop being a passenger in your own life and become the driver. And that's when you start to create the life you deserve. A life built on discipline, resilience, and the ability to face discomfort head-on. So the next time you feel that resistance, that discomfort creeping in, don't shy away from it. Embrace it, walk through it. Understand that it's not something to fear, but something that will help you grow into the person you are meant to be. Because when you do, you'll find that the respect you've been chasing will come to you naturally. It will be the result of the strength and discipline you've built in the face of discomfort. And that, my friend, is the power you've been looking for all along. Here's the hardest part. To live a truly disciplined life, to command the respect you deserve, you must be willing to stand alone. I'm not talking about isolation for the sake of being alone, but rather about reaching a place where you no longer fear solitude. There's power in being able to stand on your own, in making decisions that are true to your values, without constantly seeking approval from others. But so many of us avoid solitude, not because it's uncomfortable, but because we associate it with rejection. We fear being alone because we tie our worth to the relationships, situations, and people around us. But here's the reality. When you stop clinging to others for validation, when you stop seeking constant reassurance from the world, that's when you begin to attract real respect. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that are important to you." And that's exactly what most of us are doing. We surround ourselves with people, not because we truly value them, but because we're afraid of what might happen if we stand alone. We fear the silence. We fear the discomfort that comes from not being validated by others. But in truth, the only validation you need is your own. When you start living in a way that's true to yourself, you stop caring so much about whether others accept you. When you can stand alone, you stop living for others' approval. You stop reshaping yourself to fit into someone else's narrative. There's a sense of freedom that comes from letting go of the need for constant validation. You stop worrying about whether people like you, whether they approve of your decisions, and you start focusing on building a life that you can respect. It's not about avoiding relationships or people, but rather about no longer needing them to define your worth. When you've built a life that stands on its own, relationships become a choice, not a need. You no longer depend on them to feel whole. This shift in mindset is revolutionary. When you stop needing others to validate you, you stop giving them the power to manipulate your emotions and decisions. It's not that you become indifferent to others, but you stop letting them control how you feel about yourself. When others see that you're not desperate for connection or approval, they begin to respect you. They sense that you are not easy to manipulate. They realize that you found peace in your own company, and that's something powerful. People start to value you in ways they never did before because they see that you're not chasing their approval. You've established a boundary that is unshakable, and they recognize that. This is where true self-respect begins. When you don't fear being alone, when you no longer cling to others for reassurance, you open up space for the right people to come into your life. People who respect you for who you truly are, not for who you've pretended to be to fit their expectations. These are the relationships that nourish you, the ones that support your growth, and the ones that add value to your life rather than draining it. And even if those relationships are fewer, they are stronger, built on mutual respect and understanding. But here's the catch. This process requires you to let go of the fear of abandonment. You can't live your life constantly worried that people will leave you if you don't constantly meet their needs or expectations. The moment you free yourself from that fear, you open up a whole new world of possibilities. You begin to realize that the right people won't leave. They'll stay because they value you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. The ones who leave, who are only there for their own gain, weren't meant to stay anyway. Letting go of these connections is freeing. It's painful, yes, but it's necessary for your growth. When you stand alone, you stand with strength. You stop seeking others' opinions because you've developed the confidence to trust your own decisions. You begin to live authentically, guided by your own values and principles. And in doing so, you invite respect into your life. People respect the ones who walk with integrity, who live their truth, and who don't bend to the whims of others. When you stop living for others' approval, you create a magnetic force around yourself, a force that attracts the right people, the right opportunities, and the respect you deserve. You begin to command the respect you've always wanted, but in a way that feels effortless. You stop chasing after it. You stop seeking external validation. Instead, you draw it to you by being your true self, by standing firm in your own beliefs, and by living a life that reflects your values. People start to take notice. They see that you're not desperate for their attention, their approval, or their acceptance. And that's when they begin to respect you. Standing alone isn't about being alone forever. It's about becoming comfortable with solitude. It's about realizing that you can thrive without needing the validation of others to feel whole. You become the person who leads their own life, not because you're better than others, but because you've learned to value yourself in a way that others can't take away. And when you live this way, you'll notice something incredible. The people who respect you will begin to gravitate toward you, not because you need them, but because you are a force of your own. You'll attract the right relationships, the right opportunities, and the right people into your life simply by standing firm in who you are and what you stand for. So ask yourself, are you ready to stand alone? Are you ready to let go of the fear of abandonment and embrace the peace that comes with knowing you are enough, all on your own? It's time to stop living for others' approval. It's time to stand firm in your own truth and let the respect you deserve flow naturally toward you. The choice is yours. Will you stand alone? Will you live a life that commands respect, not by chasing it, but by being so rooted in your own values that it comes to you effortlessly? It starts now. You are not defined by the approval of others. You are defined by the strength you find within yourself when you stop seeking validation and start living your truth. Remember, the life you build with discipline and self-respect will attract the respect you've been seeking all along. Stand firm, stand strong, and let the world adjust to your standards. If you're ready to dive deeper into your journey of self-discovery and growth, check out one of the videos on the screen now. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal. Keep embracing the power within you.